Okay, welcome to slice 4. You'll notice I've got what appears to be a complicated little drawing just up here on the board. My hope is that as I describe what is going on here to you, that it will become significantly less complicated. What I've drawn on screen here is some complicated cellular mechanics that are going to help us to describe how we regulate intracellular calcium in the heart using something which is called a T tubule. You can see it kind of looks like the letter T. Now, what I want you to kind of think of is going on here is we'll just pick a part of the myocardium. We'll just pretend for argument's sake that this is the ventricular myocardium. Okay, so got a heart like this, sinoatrial node, Bachmann's bundles, atrioventricular node, bundle of His, left and right bundle branches into the Purkinje fibers. Okay, and we've sent a wave of depolarization through the heart, and what we've done is we've got it into a particular cell there inside the ventricular myocardium. We've zoomed it out and we're just looking at what is happening on its cell membrane as it's depolarizing. All right, that's what we're doing. So let's just get rid of this. So you haven't got a heart in front of my face. I won't distract you. So we've got a wave of depolarization which is coming down the myocardium there. Okay, so it's traveling throughout the cell membrane. What it's doing at that point is obviously moving sodium and potassium and doing all the things that an action potential would do. But what's going to happen here in the heart, because if you think about the actual action potential in ventricular myocardium, it kind of looks something like this. So we've got a resting membrane potential of minus 90 millivolts, okay, an action potential of somewhere in the region of about plus 30, okay, millivolts. So what we've got here at phase 0 is we've got a load of sodium channels opening, then the sodium channels close and the potassium channels open. So at this point we've got sodium going in, then we've got sodium stopping, and sodium stops. Yeah, we've got K plus channels, which means the potassium is going out. Okay, but then something happens, and that is that we've got these calcium channels that open. So what's happening is, okay, so the wave of depolarization is coming, and what's happening is that calcium, our friend, is moving in through these channels. Okay, these channels are called L-type voltage gated Ca2 plus channels. Okay, that's what they are. So they're L-type voltage gated calcium channels. So change in depolarization voltage, bang, causes these chaps to open. Calcium will move into the cell down its concentration gradient. But because of the way that our friend, the action potential, is traveling along this microanatomical phase, it's going down like this and up like that on its way to depolarize the whole membrane. So what we've also got is we've got this wave of depolarization penetrating, this is called an invagination, deep into the cell, and we've got calcium moving in like this as well. Okay? Like that. So all the while, we can say, and we'll just draw this over here because this is convenient, it's just kind of out of the way, okay? We've got the intracellular concentration of calcium that is going up and up and up and up and up, like that. So the wave of depolarization has come through, it's causing calcium to come in to the cell. So if we're thinking over here about where is it that we get our calcium from, we get our calcium from, so increase in Ca2 plus from two sources. One, what's called transmembranous, transmembrane, and then we get it from somewhere else. I've drawn here some nice complicated looking cellular mechanics. Okay, now what this is, and I'm going to keep writing in yellow, is a Ca2 plus store. And where is this Ca2 plus store, I hear you ask, Lewis? Well, I'm glad you asked that, guys, because it is in the endoplasmic reticulum of the cell. Okay? What we've got at the front here, I want to make sure I get my spelling correct, is this is called a ryanodine sensitive foot protein. Okay, I'm trying to get my spelling correct, actually trying to get my handwriting correct. Foot protein. Okay, ryanodine sensitive foot protein. Now what we've got here is a pump. Okay, but I'll come to this one in a minute because something cool is going to happen. So we've got our calcium coming in, and what I'm just going to do is I'm going to draw this calcium as just a blob like that, so you can see that it's kind of locking and keying. And what happens is that as this attaches on, it changes the stuff, binds to stuff, it changes the configuration of it. And what happens is that this calcium starts exiting the storage and goes into our sarcomeres, where it will bind to tropomyosin. Tropomyosin will do this, and then we can get more contractile force. So this So this is transmembrane or sarcoplasmic reticulum. Interestingly, okay, so actually I should, for completion's sake, we should do this as well. So interestingly, what we've got here, this, let's just do that. So one contributes about 25%, and the other one contributes 75%. So 3/4 of all of the calcium we actually need to carry out good whacking great big contractile force inside the heart actually comes from stuff that is already within the heart. Well, what happens then when we relax? Because, I mean, we've actually got to try and get something going here, because clearly we can't just have this calcium kind of knocking around inside the cell. If we have all this calcium knocking around inside of the cell, we're we're going to end up in cardiac tetanus. And if we end up in cardiac tetanus, we'll be dead, because it means that your heart muscle will just be contracted and it'll stay contracted and it won't be able to relax. If you can't relax, you can't do diastole. In other words, you'll be dead. Right, so a couple of things happen. We can let's just write in here. Relaxation pathway. Okay, we've got the ability to just, when we want to reduce this, to just pump it out. Okay, so this is a calcium ATPase, and we just pump it directly out. Okay, the other way that we can do it, because obviously we've got, this is cellular physiology, right? We've got because we've got leaky calcium channels everywhere and we need to rectify our cell membrane, we've got sodium potassium pumps, or sodium potassium ATPase, depending on how you prefer to call it. Now, the other thing that this does is it generates a kind of mini kind of gradient where we're also pumping in, right? Because we're pumping out sodium, we've got to get the sodium back in, right? A sodium calcium pump. So we're pumping the sodium out using our sodium potassium pump to bring potassium back in. That's creating a gradient whereby we bring our sodium in and we pump the potassium out as we go along. That one is a passive process. So we're spending a little bit of ATP there to get a load of to get some free calcium movement there. But the other thing that we want to do, and we actually expend quite a bit of ATP doing this, is that we want to just actively pump this calcium back into the store. And we do, like I said, spend an awful lot of ATP doing just that. So what I've described to you in this little sort of section of our journey through the heart together, which has taken about 3 minutes longer than I would have liked to have, is something called Ca2 plus mediated Ca2 plus release. Calcium mediated calcium release. And that there is where nearly, I don't know, maybe 90% of the pharmacology of heart failure is solved just by toying with these pumps, by giving some targeted drugs to switch them off. We can either pump more calcium into the heart when it's failing, we can retain more calcium in the heart when it's failing, or if we need to, we can pump more calcium out, or we can inhibit the pumps from working as well. And there's a lot of interesting stuff that you could do here, and there's some quite complicated clinical exercise physiology that can go on with that into exactly how you work with the pharmacologists who are prescribing in order to be able to help a heart when it's failing. In the next slice, we're going to talk a little bit more about something that I just drew, which is the ventricular myocardial action potential.